In this video, you will discover an opening tactic that you can employ as the white player when facing the Sicilian defense as early as move 6. More than 41,000 individuals have opted for the seemingly most natural and logical move of bishop to g7 in this situation, which, in fact, falls directly into the trap I'm about to reveal. I will guide you through the steps necessary to counter this move and lead you to a potentially winning position as soon as move 10. And that's not all, I have an intriguing chess puzzle in store for all of you. So make sure you stay tuned until the end for the full experience. Let's begin. The trap emerges within the Sicilian defense. It begins with the moves after e4, where black responds with c5, entering the Sicilian defense. We'll focus on the main line, which continues with knight to f3, d6, and d4 to establish control of the center. After black captures the pawn, we recapture with our knight. Typically, black follows up with knight to f6, aiming to attack our pawn, and we respond by playing knight to c3. At this juncture, two common moves arise. The most prevalent one is a6, known as the knight-off variation, where black tries to deter our knights from entering certain squares. We won't delve into this variation in this video. The second most common move is g6, which is known as the dragon variation. In this setup, black intends to fianchetto the bishop and continue with their development, including castling. However, this is where our trap comes into play. We execute the move f4, unveiling the Levenfish variation, which is quite tricky. With this move, we instantly set a cunning trap. When it comes to this situation, it's interesting to note, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, that many people are unaware of what's coming next. The move I'm referring to has been played over 41,000 times, and it's not by beginners. We are talking about players with an average rating of 2,100. This move is bishop to g7, and at first glance, it seems entirely reasonable. In fact, I'd probably play it myself as black, as it appears to be a natural and solid move. But here's the twist, it's actually unfavorable for black. Take a moment to think about what white can play to attain a highly advantageous position. If you didn't figure it out, don't worry, it's quite challenging to see all the way through some of the lines. The move in question is e5. The key here is that we are attacking the black knight. Whether black captures the pawn or not, they'll eventually need to address the knight. Most players opt to trade it off. Now, when the black knight is forced to relocate, let's discuss some of the available options for black. First and foremost, moving the knight to e4 is not a viable choice, we'll simply capture it. Secondly, returning the knight to g8 doesn't make much sense since it would mean developing the knight only to retreat it to its starting position. If black opts for this, you'll be content, as you can continue developing your pieces and prepare for a strong attack once you castle, aligning your pieces effectively. Now, let's explore the two most common moves played by black in this situation, knight to g4 and knight to d5. Knight to g4 appears quite logical, as it targets the pawn on e5, seemingly winning it. We can't capture the knight immediately because it's protected by the black bishop. But here comes the killer move for white, bishop to b5, delivering a check. At first glance, it might seem like a regular move, and black can simply block it with their bishop, which appears to resolve the situation. However, there's a significant problem with this move. The black bishop is now pinned to the king, meaning it can't move off the diagonal. Consequently, the knight that was previously defended is now undefended, and white can capture it with the queen, leading to a favorable position. Now, let's examine some of the alternative options for black in response to this situation. First, consider knight to d7 as a move to block with the knight. However, this move also leads to an unfavorable outcome for black because it obstructs the bishop's path, allowing us to capture the knight without any issues. Another option black might consider is knight to c6, which, once again, we can exploit. We capture the knight, and if black recaptures, we execute a devastating fork that wins black's rook. Now, suppose black tries king to f8, as castling is not an option while in check. In this case, we have another powerful move up our sleeve. If you take a moment to think about it, you'll find that knight to e6 check is the right move. This move not only forks the king and queen, but also unleashes our queen to attack black's queen. Black is compelled to capture our knight, or else we would capture their queen. After they take the knight, we can capture their queen, resulting in checkmate in just 11 moves. So, by playing knight to e6, the game is effectively over, making this trap a highly effective and elegant tactic. Now, let's explore some other options that black might consider. We've already dissected the responses to knight to g4 and knight to d5, where bishop b5 check proved to be a potent response. But what if black chooses another path? Suppose black plays knight to d5. In this case, if you're thinking about playing bishop b5 check again, you're on the right track. This move remains highly effective because if black blocks with the natural-looking moves of bishop to d7 or knight to d7, it interferes with the queen's defense of the knight, allowing us to capture the knight and gain a material advantage. Furthermore, if black chooses knight to c6, the problem persists, and we can capture it, leading to the same fork as before. So, the only reasonable option for black in this situation is once again king to f8. However, now, we can't execute the knight e6 check since our queen's path is blocked. Instead, we simply castle. This move aligns our rook on the half-open file targeting black's king, and black encounters difficulties due to their trapped rook and the inability to castle. While it might not yield an immediate material advantage, although it does suggest a significant positional advantage, we are in a favorable position with more developed pieces and a safer king. We can tuck our king into the corner and build up a strong attack. This position is quite advantageous for white. We've already discussed the frequently played moves, namely knight to g4 and knight to d5. Now, let's shift our focus to another move that black might consider, knight to h5. Surprisingly, the move you play against knight h5 is once again bishop b5 check, which might come as no surprise by now. After a move like bishop to d7, you play the move g4. The intriguing part here is that this knight on h5 becomes trapped. If it moves to various squares, we capture it. If it goes to g3, we take it, if it goes to f6, we take it, and if it retreats to f7, we take it as well. Consequently, we are set to win the knight in the corner. You might be wondering why we first played bishop b5 check before g4. The reason is that if we play g4 immediately, black can capture on e5, creating a threat against our knight. If we take the knight, black takes our knight, and we are in an unfavorable position. However, by starting with bishop b5 check, when black responds with bishop to d7, it strategically blocks the queen from attacking our knight. So, when we proceed with g4, the sequence is captures, and now we comfortably take the knight with our queen because black's queen is blocked from intervening. This theme, using bishop b5 check to either block the opponent's queen or create a pin on d7, is a recurring motif in this trap. Remember this key idea when attempting to execute this trap successfully. Now, let's revisit our analysis. We've explored various responses from black, such as knight to g4, knight to d5, and knight to h5, and found them all unfavorable for black. However, the best move for black in this scenario is actually to retreat the knight back to d7. Nevertheless, even this move isn't ideal for black. But if black plays knight to d7, we can respond with e6, targeting the knight. Black doesn't want to capture the pawn because that would allow our knight to jump into the action, attacking both the queen and the bishop. Moreover, trading the bishop for our knight, when it's been fianchettoed along this diagonal, isn't usually a good idea for black. It leaves them with weak dark squares, and our bishop can exploit these weaknesses effectively. Additionally, the queen comes under attack, and black's king position becomes precarious. While it's not the most common move, the one many players tend to choose is to move the knight to e5 because, after we capture it, they don't want to lose their castling rights. And we play bishop to e3 to protect our knight. After black castles, we simply continue with bishop to c4. In this position, the black knight is pinned, creating an uncomfortable situation for black. We'll proceed to castle and place our rook on the open file, gaining a significant advantage. So, even in the worst-case scenario for this trap, when black plays knight to g8, you won't win immediately, but you'll still attain a favorable position. Nevertheless, remember that the most common moves played after bishop b5 check are the ones where you achieve an immediate advantage. I hope this trap proves helpful in your games. Now, it's time for a puzzle. In the given position, it's white's turn, and you need to find the best move for white. Share your answers in the comments, and let's see how many of you can solve it correctly. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with future videos. Take a moment to check out the other videos appearing on your screen right now. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care and peace.